Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
A Metropolitan Police officer has been found guilty of belonging to a banned neo-Nazi terror group and possessing extremist material. The 22-year-old is the first serving British police officer to be convicted of a terror offence. Benjamin Hanam was a member of the far-right extremist group National Action, which was banned in 2016. He lied about his past in his application to join the police. Our Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sandford reports.
PC Ben Hanam, 22 years old, who today became the first police officer in Britain to be convicted of terrorism. After he'd been found guilty, we had to chase him to talk to him because he ran from a side door of the court.
Why did you join a terrorist organisation and then join the police?
His father keeping me from asking questions and whisking him away in a taxi. He'll be sentenced in 3 weeks. At his passing out parade 3 years ago, it was Cressida Dick, the head of the Metropolitan Police, who oversaw the ceremony and walked right past him as she welcomed the new recruits. Just 2 years earlier, here he was taking part in propaganda for the banned neo-Nazi terrorist group National Action.
Let's go.
Doing fight training in the woods and daubing a Nazi torch on a wall in Swindon.
Traces of the graffiti Ben Hanam sprayed on that trip are still visible in Swindon to this day. When he did it, he was still an active member of a banned neo-Nazi terrorist organisation. Within weeks of doing it, he was applying to join London's Metropolitan Police.
The propaganda video from the trip was posted on the internet just days before he put in his application. This was police raiding his home to seize phones and computers. It had taken 2 years to realise they had a Nazi in the ranks.
To just point them out, don't touch them. If you can try and avoid. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's just
that phone, this Apple Watch.
They'd only found him because the membership of a neo-Nazi internet forum had been leaked. On his bedroom wall, he still had pictures of German soldiers from World War II. Police also found an indecent image of a child.
This is a unique case, and never before has a serving police officer been prosecuted for being the member of a terrorist group. When we identified the person we were looking at was a police officer, it was of course a shock, but we then moved very quickly to arrest Ben Hanam.
In a diary, PC Hanam noted that he joined National Action or NA in 2015, left in 2017 and joined the Metropolitan Police Service, the MPS, in 2018. Other former National Action members include Jack Renshaw, who admitted plotting to kill his MP, Zach Davis, who was found guilty of attempting to behead an Asian dentist, and Jack Coulson, who made a pipe bomb.
It seems incredible that a man who has been part of a group that has been banned as a terrorist organisation can go on and join the police and the police not know anything about his background. We're not talking about a huge number of people here.
Seen here doing a Nazi salute in a propaganda video, Ben Hanam had just ticked a box on 2 police forms
good accuracy.
saying he'd never been a member of the BNP. The force never took a reference from the school he'd just left, where one teacher had been shocked by his racism. Daniel Sandford, BBC News.
Our home editor Mark Easton is here, and this is the latest in a number of damaging incidents involving the Metropolitan Police.
Oh, it's been a very, very difficult few weeks for the Met. The charging of one of their officers, of course, with the murder of Sarah Everard, another officer being investigated over the alleged rape of 2 of his female colleagues, and now a serving officer convicted of being a member of a neo-Nazi terrorist organisation. Now, individually, these are all very unusual or unprecedented, and I do think it is just coincidence that they've all hit the front pages in quick succession. The question, though, is whether there is an underlying problem in terms of public trust in the Met. And while the situation is not disastrous, I think we perhaps ought to have a look at the data, the official figures on this, because it does show a deteriorating picture. Overall victim satisfaction down from 77% to 64% in 3 years. The proportion of Londoners who say the police are doing a good job in their local area also down from 68% to 56%. And the proportion who agree that the police can be relied upon to be there when needed also down from 76 to 67%. public trust in the police is really a measure of their legitimacy. And legitimacy is the bedrock of the whole British system of policing by consent. That is why, however unusual the individual cases may be, this rash of negative publicity at the Met, it actually matters.
Mark Easton, thank you.
Terrorist group PC Benjamin Hannam was found guilty of membership of the banned neo-Nazi extremist group National Action following a trial at the Old Bailey. He was also convicted of lying on his application and vetting forms to join the Metropolitan Police and of possessing terrorist documents on knife combat and explosives. Home Affairs correspondent Mark White has this report.
Arrested by his own colleagues, this is PC Benjamin Hannam.
I've got... So just point them out, don't touch them. If you can try and avoid... Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's just
that phone, this Apple Watch, and my old PC tower down there.
Okay.
But I don't even have a monitor, you can see.
Yeah.
I haven't used that since who knows how long.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's March last year. The young officer has been arrested for involvement in far-right extremism. When officers searched his electronic devices, they found this picture of PC Hannam in uniform with a superimposed Hitler moustache and Nazi emblem. He claimed a former school friend had done it as a joke. Police also found this self-declared manifesto by the far-right terrorist Anders Breivik, who murdered 77 people, mostly teenagers, in a gun and bomb attack in Norway in 2011. Elsewhere around his bedroom in North London were Nazi propaganda posters and a diary which detailed him joining the now banned far-right group National Action. The Home Secretary outlawed that group in 2016 as part of a drive against far-right terrorist activity. The 22-year-old continued meeting with members of the group despite that ban. Here, in the white T-shirt, he's taking part in a physical fitness session and boxing match in Woodland with those group members.
No hesitation, get in there first, get in first.
Hannam continued to meet with the group and formed an offshoot organisation just weeks before applying to join the Met Police.
Hey, good accuracy.
There are questions for the Met's vetting process, which failed to seek references from his school, where teachers had expressed concerns about his extremist views in class.
This is a unique case. This is the first time a police officer has been prosecuted for an offence of this nature. It was a shock to the investigative team. It will be a shock to the public too, but I hope the public will be reassured at how fast we moved to arrest and prosecute Ben Hannam for his previous membership of National Action.
The young officer and his fellow extremists called their offshoot group NS131. Here he's spray painting the group's logo on a structure in Swindon. The group videoed and photographed themselves spraying their logos and holding an extremist flag for a propaganda video. Scotland Yard carried out an urgent review of PC Hannam's arrests and his stop-and-search activity. The force said it found no evidence that any of his on-duty behaviour had been influenced by his far-right extremist beliefs. Mark White, Sky News.
In a separate investigation, a Metropolitan Police officer accused of raping two female colleagues is to face a misconduct hearing. The alleged offences were reported to Essex Police in 2017, and although the force says it carried out a lengthy inquiry, it acknowledged there were areas for improvement in the management of the investigations. Scotland Yard says it monitored the criminal inquiry and then decided in February that the officer had a case to answer for gross misconduct.
A Metropolitan Police officer has become the first serving officer in Britain to be convicted of terrorism after he was found guilty of belonging to the neo-Nazi group National Action. 22-year-old Benjamin Hannam had been working for 2 years as a probationary PC when his details were leaked on a right-wing forum. A jury heard how he trained with the banned terror group and had documents about making bombs and knife combat. The case comes at a challenging time for the force and policing as a whole. Here's our global security editor, Rohit Khatri.
When the police arrived to search Benjamin Hannam's home, there was a reason he seemed so familiar with the process.
So just point them out, don't touch them. If you can try and avoid. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's just
that phone, this Apple Watch.
Because like the people behind the camera, he too was a serving police officer.
I don't even have a monitor, you can see.
Yeah.
I haven't used that since who knows how long.
Yeah.
Inside his bedroom, police found business cards and notes which showed he was a member of National Action. He joined in 2016, then applied to join the Metropolitan Police the following year. Drawing a Hitler-style moustache onto this picture of himself seemed a nod to those two worlds. Tonight, he's the first British officer to be convicted of a terrorism offence.
Ben. Right, Ben, get in there.
Weeks before applying to Scotland Yard, he was filmed at a National Action training event. Another member captured him sparring in Woodland.
Get in there first, get in first.
The neo-Nazi group had been proscribed, banned. But when asked by the police whether he'd been part of a racist organisation before, he ticked no. His past wasn't identified, not until the force had spent £66,000 on training him.
When we identified the person we were looking at was a police officer, it was of course a shock, but we then moved very quickly to arrest Ben Hannam and investigate him fully.
Yet Hannam had tried to avoid detection here in Swindon as he helped graffiti far-right slogans. This was filmed for a propaganda video. But he was not on the periphery of this network. Look again at the video from the boxing class, and standing right next to him is Alex Davis.
Alex, from ITV. Can you tell me about National Action? Tell me about your time in National Action.
He was the founder of National Action.
It's all about public record.
Yeah? Who we located in Swansea in 2018. Other members of the group have since been prosecuted. He has not. Perhaps the most serious questions are for the police, and how at a time when the extreme right wing is taking up more of its time, a follower was able to become an officer.
But an important question for the police as to whether or not this is an isolated case.
And really, we can't really know, as illustrated by this trial. You know, the police seem confident. They're saying that this was a unique case. Of course, they may well have also been confident during the period that this officer was serving. You know, this all comes at a time when there are so many questions for Scotland Yard, particularly about race, not just in terms of their dealings with the broader public, but in terms of the growing threat of white supremacist groups. And many people may well look to Germany, where a significant number of officers are being investigated for links to the extreme right wing. No evidence that this sort of thing is happening here, but of course it's inevitable that extremists will always try to join groups, to join police forces, and for those forces, you know, the real barrier is their vetting process, which failed here.
OK, Rohit, thanks very much.
PC Ben Hannam was found guilty of membership of banned far-right extremist group National Action. He was also convicted of lying on his application and vetting forms to join the police and having documents detailing knife combat and making explosive devices. Hannam had been working as a probationary officer for the Metropolitan Police for nearly 2 years before he was exposed via a leaked database of users of an extreme right-wing online forum. Warwick O'Brien has this report.
During the summer of 2017, if for some reason you'd found yourself round the back of a storm drain on the outskirts of Swindon, you'd have come across a group of young men spraying graffiti. The atmosphere cordial. The tagging is toxic. This is Benjamin Hannam painting the symbol of NS131 on the wall, another name for the neo-Nazi group National Action. Around this time, Hannam, then in his teens, applied to join the Metropolitan Police.
What? Ben. Right, Ben, get in there.
Earlier that year, Hannam, here in white, participated in another National Action event, a boxing session in the woods.
We were not present during our...
A few months before, National Action had been banned by the then Home Secretary Amber Rudd. National Action's slogan was "Death to traitors, freedom for Britain," a statement used in court by Thomas Mayer, Joe Cox's killer. By March 2018, Hannam had been accepted as a trainee police officer and had become a probationary constable. According to notebooks found in his home, he had left National Action in July the previous year.
I don't even have a monitor, you can see.
Yeah.
I haven't used that since who knows how long.
Yeah.
The following year, a database of a large extreme right-wing internet forum called Iron March was leaked. Hannam was on the forum. As a result, he was arrested in March last year. Today, he was found guilty of membership of a proscribed organisation, 2 counts of fraud, and possession of a document likely to be of use to a terrorist. This case throws into focus how the police vet would-be officers. When Hannam was filling in his application forms to join, there were questions about whether the applicant was a member of the British National Party or similar organisations which aims and objectives, quote, contradict police officers' duty to promote race equality. Hannam answered no to those questions. He lied, in other words. If he'd have answered yes, his application would have been rejected, and the £66,000 worth of taxpayer money which was spent on his training would not have been lost, which is why today he was also found guilty of fraud offences.
The vetting process for potential applicants to the Metropolitan Police follows our national guidance. It is proportionate. Ben Hannam is a unique case. This is, as I said, to the best of my knowledge, the first time a serving police officer has been prosecuted for membership of a terrorist group.
The court heard that Hannam had displayed anti-Islam sentiment in secondary school, but had just given a university reference on his application, which had not indicated anything to be worried about. During the course of the trial, expert witnesses agreed that he was autistic and that this was relevant to his interest in fascism, providing a sort of twisted order that appealed to Hannam. Not that that excused his behaviour, according to the prosecution, especially given some of his personal circumstance. A girlfriend from a Muslim family, a grandparent who is gay, a step-grandparent who is Jewish, and an ideology that disconnects its followers from the people around them.
Orica O'Brien reporting.